Hello and welcome to another edition of the Avid Screencast. My name is Christian Förster, and this week we'll continue our series on audio Will It Never End? By checking out Avid's Equalizer. The Equalizer is applied very easily by highlighting the audio tracks that you want to apply the Equalizer to, then going to Tools and hitting Audio EQ. It opens the Audio EQ tool and we'll see what it can do. Now up here you can change between the different audio tools, do an audio play loop, render the effect if you so wish, and then there's the fast menu where you can set the EQ globally and remove it from different tracks. That is basically pretty much the same thing as in the audio mixer. And then we have a couple of presets. Now these presets can be very handy, especially like the hum busters. If you have like electrical hum in your footage, these are presets that you can't change. You can see it here. There's no way to change these, but you'll have a little preview of what these hum boosters or hum busters or different EQ presets do. There's a little icon to save your effect to a bin. You can bypass it, of course. You can end or disable the whole effect. And here you have control over what tracks you actually change right now. Now, as you can see, this is a 3-band EQ and it's a pretty limited one at that. We have a low shelf filter where all you can do is set the low shelf turnover point at 50, 80, 120 or 240 Hertz. So let's say 80 Hertz. And then you can choose whether you want to increase or decrease the low shelf. There you go. Instant visual representation of what you do. And that is pretty easy to do. Same thing here with the high shelf, where you can set the frequency and the amount of volume that you want your frequency to be increased or decreased. And then we have a slightly more parametric filter in the center. It's a Bell filter. We can set the Q factor, albeit only by very little, either 1/4 of an octave or 2 octaves. Basically, what this means is how wide your adjustment is going to be. Let's say 2 octaves, and we'll see what the difference between those two is in a couple of seconds. Then you can set the center frequency by moving the slider. And of course, again, you can increase or decrease the volume. So now I've set the center frequency to 813 Hertz, somewhere here. And we have a 2 octave bandwidth. So this is a pretty wide filter. If I change this to 1/4 of an octave, you can see the curve is much steeper. If I disable it altogether, well, guess what? Nothing's happening. If I change the center frequency, surprise, the frequency of what you affect change. And that's basically what you can do with this EQ. It's a pretty basic EQ. If you want more, there are 3 and 7 band EQs in the AudioSuite. They only work for monotracks, however, at least at the moment they only work for monotracks, but they give you a huge lot more control. But I'll give you an example of what I like to do with the EQ. It's a very basic thing. So let's first of all reset the EQ. Alt or Option clicking on the different sliders resets it. And again, one thing that I like to do is I have a club scene here with music that you probably know. And then I have a scene outside with the same music, but what I want to achieve is make it feel like this is outside the club. Maybe you can see it. Maybe it's this thing back here. Maybe this is the entrance to the club. I don't know. But you can still listen. You can still hear the music outside. But generally, what happens if you're outside the club and you just hear the bass and not the mid and high frequencies? So what I've done is I've made an edit here right at the transition from inside the club to outside the club. And I've only applied the EQ to the outside portion. Now I'll open the EQ again. And basically all I want to do is let the bass remain and, pretty much kill everything else. So I'll take the lowest possible frequency for my low shelf filter and turn it all the way down. I'll take a very, very broad bandwidth bell filter for the center, turn it all the way down as well. Now you can see this is a pretty uneven curve, so I'll try to change the center frequency to make it a little more even. Maybe something like this. Now all the bass remains and the highs and mids are pretty much gone. And this you can immediately hear. And I think this is a pretty effective way to do stuff. So maybe I'll make a small transition. So this is a pretty simple effect, but let's say I'm using this over and over again. Every day I'm having these transitions from inside the club to outside the club because I'm working on some, club show or whatever. And I want to save this EQ setting as a preset. Now, wouldn't that be great? Now, of course, you know that you can just grab the effect icon, drag it to a bin, rename it like bass only or something. And now you could apply this over and over again. But wouldn't it be great to have it right here in this nice little drop-down menu? Well, guess what? It can be done. And it's pretty simple to do as well. Go to File, Open Bin, go to your main hard drive where Avid is installed. On the Mac, go to Applications, Avid Media Composer, Supporting Files, Side Effects, Side EQs bin. On the PC, it's a slightly different path. It will be in the show notes, but it's basically in the Program Files folder, Avid, and then Supporting Files as well, and the rest of the path is the same. Now I've opened this Side EQs bin, and as you've probably noticed, these are the presets. So all you need to do is drag your, bass only preset into the bin. And there it is, bass only. And now I can, apply this great, awesome preset whenever I feel like it. So that's the EQ for you. It's a very, very basic EQ. And I'd say, it's not very good for filtering out specific sounds. If there's a specific frequency that annoys you, the only thing you could do is take the center filter, make it as narrow as possible. I first increase the volume and then go through frequency by frequency and see when the annoying sound becomes very, very audible. Then I know I've hit the right frequency, and then I can go this way. This is actually a lot nicer with a real hardware mixer, because you can do it in real time and not wait until the EQ is updated. And it's kind of a pain in the ass to do an Avid, so I actually wouldn't really recommend it. And also, you can see the Q factor is not, this is not a very narrow filter. So you will affect, frequencies next to your center frequency, and you'll affect them quite severely. Alright, so thank you for watching this episode of the Avid Screencast. If you like, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast at avidscreencast.com. And if you have any comments or suggestions, just drop me a line at mail@avidscreencast.com. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/avidscreencast, and on Facebook, facebook.com/avidscreencast. And if you'd like to know what kinds of things I do in my day job, check out editguy.de. It's an incredibly interesting site, so do check it out, because you will definitely not be able to sleep if you miss this. Again, thanks for watching. See you next week. Goodbye.